Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Tony's Back Room. Yes, I'm back. I want to say a few announcements before we start with these candidates. First of all, we had some very bad news this week, yesterday and today, that Robin Williams. See, I was thinking of something else.
Mark.
Yeah, Robin Williams passed away, and we lost a great man and a great comedian and a great person. Second announcement: there was a misunderstanding last week of where the elections are going to be held. It's not going to be held at the high school. It's going to be held at the middle school here, right near Lady of Mercy's church. So that's where the elections are going to be. So now we got all the announcements all done with. I want to introduce you to the candidates. On the far right is Chris Christensen.
Good evening.
In the middle is Janine Notta. And of course, I'm a candidate too, Tony Pellegrino. We are running for state representative for the town of Merrimack. I will start off with Chris. Chris, do you believe we have too much government?
I do. You know, it's funny. I've lived in Merrimack since 1975, and I kind of grew up in the Lakes region prior to that, before I went into the Navy. And I really kind of miss some of the, let's call it the simpler times. When I came back from the Navy, I started work for Liberty Mutual in Manchester, and that was, like I said, mid-'70s, and there were just a ton of people moving in from Massachusetts. And I remember many of them saying, you know, we moved here because there's not so much government, there's not so much going on, we can just do what we want to do and not be bothered by anybody. And over the years, I think that's changed a lot. Now, some of them brought it with them, but, you know, there's just too many new things that we don't really need to do, or things that we don't need to regulate. And I know, having been a legislator for 12 years, sometimes there's an incentive for a lot of people to say, well, what are you doing, Concord? Well, I sponsored this bill and I sponsored that bill. But being a successful legislature to me is not always sponsoring a lot of bills and making a lot of new rules. There ought to be a time to pull back and eliminate some of them, clean some of them up, and make things a simpler way to go. That's what Live Free or Die is all about.
Very good, Chris. Now you're coming back. You've been up there, so you're coming back. You're going to be running again. And why are you coming back?
Oh, well, having served in the minority and just saw how the vote didn't make a difference because we were so outnumbered, and we just saw more freedoms taken away, the government expanded, county budget's gone up 9%. You know, we got those taxes going up too. It's just, I want to go back and put a stop to it.
Oh, that's good. And Chris, you missed one term, but you're coming back again. Why are you coming back?
I think for some of the things that I mentioned previously, but the real issue here for me is having spent several terms in the legislature, I feel like I can do some good for the people of Merrimack in particular, but statewide as well. And I know that you can't do things in just one term. Let me give you an example. We started in 2005, when I was a rep. We started in 2005 to work on building a new courthouse here in Merrimack. And it took some time through the town council, some time through the legislature, another couple of years after that. It was late in 2010 when we could actually open the doors. And you need to be there constantly to keep working at some of these things to make them work. You can't just put in a bill and hope it's all going to pass and everything will be fine. You have to track it, you have to work on it, you have to build some friendships and some coalitions and some working relationships to get things done. And there were some things that I think I started that I'd like to get back to.
Very good. And you're wondering why I'm going back. Well, I'm going back because I feel I have not finished what I started. That is to help the people of Merrimack and help the people of New Hampshire. Now, you've been up there this is your second term,
No, this will be my third term.
coming up now.
Yes,
This will be your third coming up term.
assuming I get reelected.
As soon as you get reelected. And do you feel that that there's something you want to do if you do get reelected, that
Yes.
you want to, what do you want to do?
Well, right now my number one issue is voter fraud. I mean, we already, got the voter ID law, but it didn't stop voter fraud because, anybody can walk in and fill out a card that says, oh, my name is Joe Schmo, I live at 13 Mockingbird Lane, and by the time they check to see if this is a real person, they're long gone. You know how many same-day voter registrations? Now, many of them were legit, but many of them were not. And some people were elected by just such a slim margin. How do we know they weren't there fraudulently? We have to stop fraud and let the voters, the voters who are allowed to vote. And by allowed to vote, I mean the ones who live here.
Okay, I'm going to answer the questions now, both of this question. The gas tax, Chris, what do you think about the gas tax?
I have mixed emotions about it. I was pleased to see that we got some some toll relief for Merrimack. If I had had the opportunity, would I have voted for the gas tax? I don't think so. I don't think anybody really wanted the gas tax. One of the things that was a little bit irritating to me, if you will, is the bill said, we're going to raise the tax and we're going to study the efficiency and the effectiveness of the Department of Transportation. I can't tell you how many bills we've had, and you've had them in your committees,
Yep.
that when somebody says, well, why are we doing this now? There's a study committee. Let's wait until the study's done and get the real information. So just from that point of view, even though I'm pretty much opposed to tax increases, the fact that they were authorizing a study committee to check the effectiveness and efficiency of the Department of Transportation was just the wrong timing.
Okay. Janine?
Only a portion of the gas tax is actually going towards the road. But I don't know if you knew that. My son was in the hospital on the day that they voted for the gas increase. I would have voted no, because I knew it was going to pass anyway, so Merrimack was going to get that toll relief. But it was just a matter of principle. I signed a pledge that I would not vote to raise taxes, and I had to honor that pledge.
Well, very well. Now, there's another thing. Let's go not verify. Let's move off the subject and go it's nationwide and TVs, and everybody's talking about family. The family is not together. The family's not all there. And to me, it seems like the family should be there. So what do you think about family? Set a family example to the kids or to anybody. Start off with Christine.
Christine.
Not Christine.
Christine.
Janine.
I like
Well,
Jenny.
I've been called Jeanette
call her
for
Christine
a year.
because
so
I used
now
to
it'll
know
be
a girl named
Christine.
Christine.
Yeah, Chris and Janine. Yeah.
You know
That's
how
my
it
name
is.
now. Oh, by the way, not to interrupt, but do you like my orange jacket?
I like your orange
Do
jacket
you know why I'm wearing orange?
because I have my orange, my
yes,
colors.
your signs are orange, and the dress matches my
Right.
sign.
So
which-
what
and
do you
your blue
what do you think?
sign.
You think family is a very
Yes.
important?
Family is the fabric of society. You break up the family, and that's the start of just downhill slide.
Chris?
I absolutely have to agree. You and I were talking before the show started about having a family camp. And we do. It's been in the family for 60 years now. And so it's not fancy, but it's the one place that nobody's ever going to move out of. And we get together there frequently. My niece comes up from Texas. I think if we didn't have the camp, we'd see her once a year at Christmas or something like that. But she'll come up and everybody kind of gets together, and the importance of sharing all of that stuff and keeping everybody together. And I look at it and say, I think we have strong family relationships. My sister just celebrated her 50th wedding anniversary. We, Lynn and I, just celebrated 45 years.
Well, congratulations.
And, it's a wonderful institution, and I just can't say enough about how important it is for how our society functions to have strong family values.
There's a Bernese mountain puppy down
No.
there. That's a family member too, huh?
That's Daisy, yes.
That's Daisy, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't think anybody can see her down there on the floor.
I know, but that's Daisy, if you want to hear what the noise is. How about Medicare expansion that we had last year? Chris, what do you think about that? I mean, I know I voted against it,
I voted against it as
but
well.
what do you feel about that?
I wasn't there to vote for or against, but I had some mixed emotions, to be honest with you. The concept of having 100% reimbursement from the federal government makes it sound really good. However, we never have any guarantees for that. And if you look at the aid for children, that was supposed to have been funded 40%. Children's education, special education, was supposed to have been funded 40% by the federal government. They've never even come close to that. And so trying to vote for that to say, yes, we're going to have this, do we need it? You know, prior to this, we've had the healthiest people in the country in the state of New Hampshire. At the same time, thank you, Jeannie, we have the most expensive insurance programs in the country.
Yes, we do.
So I know there are people out there who can't afford insurance, and I know that we have programs to help them. So I think we're in good shape already. And knowing all of that, I think I would have voted against it. But like I say, I can see where there's some strong temptations when you say, well, it's going to be fully funded, and we're only doing it for 3 years.
Well, what $37 million in the hole?
Yeah.
Because they don't have the money, the grants that they want to get, they didn't get them.
That's right.
So now we're
Where's
in
the
the
money
hole,
coming
and
from?
everybody's going to know what the governor is going to do to supplement the money that we don't have in there.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think?
I don't know what she's got up her sleeve. All I know is where I like to quote Herman Cain, everything is just a mess. And we got to stop it. We've got to be fiscally responsible. We can't keep passing all these laws with unfunded mandates.
Well, I believe too, now I'm jumping from subject to subject, ladies and gentlemen, because I want you to get an override view of their base and what they believe in and why they're running. I hope, stay with me. Well, you always do, but stay with me a little more. Small businesses. I think small businesses are the backbone of New Hampshire.
Absolutely.
So, Janine, what do you think about it?
Well, the BET and the business enterprise tax and the business profits tax, business BPT. We need to cut them. We need to make New Hampshire a favorable environment for businesses because that's where the jobs are. We can't create jobs, businesses can, but they're not going to want to come here if this is our environment is hostile to businesses. So that's very important, which I'm sure you probably both agree with me. I mean, I think we're all pretty much fiscal conservatives, right?
Chris?
Well, I certainly am.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up in a family that my father operated a small business, and I worked in it as we grew up. Whoops.
Oh, let's get that for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I grew up in that small business environment, and I know how hardworking my family was. We all worked, at least on holidays. And you're right, that's the backbone of what's going on. However, when you start to overregulate, that doesn't encourage people to start businesses. But here's the real catch in my mind. If you are a single person, a professional or a consultant or something like that, and people say, well, we don't have an income tax in New Hampshire, but we have a business profits tax, which is an income tax, and the business enterprise tax. Excuse me. I don't know why.
So Tony, what's new with you?
Yeah, we'll have to clean that up afterwards. I'm sorry.
Oh, the puppy.
The puppy.
Puppy strikes again.
Puppy
But
strikes again.
that's an income tax. And so those people who are running a small business are getting taxed twice compared to those people who either are retired or just have a job or some such where they're not paying the income tax. So I think we over-rely on that business profits tax, and that tends to discourage new business, discourage business expansion, discourage people moving their business into the state of New Hampshire. And I think we should get out of that list where we're at the bottom of
Barrel.
the barrel for worst business environment, or at least as far as the tax is concerned.
Well, I always thought the small businessman is the backbone of New Hampshire, and I always say that with too much taxes, and that's why they're not coming in. They're not coming into New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Now, what would you do, or how would you do, to bring more business into New Hampshire? Of course.
I think even if it's a token amount, reducing the business profits tax, business enterprise tax would be a big issue. I think the research and development tax credit would be important, especially for some of our high-tech companies that are interested in developing and expanding and hiring our young people who tend to be a little bit more interested and educated in the high-tech issues that research and development has a big part to play. And the other thing that comes to mind is some of our insurance situations. Workers' compensation insurance is very expensive. I think there are some things within the Insurance Commission that we could do to make that more affordable for businesses.
What do you think, Janine? Hey, I got a name right.
Thank you. I
I'll record it.
appreciate that. You're what? Don't tell me, Tony, right?
Right,
Yeah, okay.
okay.
I know Tony. We carpool, along with Phil Strait. Well, Tony, I support right to work. I do, but I also understand that it's essential that we exempt the policemen and the firemen if we ever want to pass right to work. But I'm just report after report of businesses that just avoid states that are not right to work states, and the right to work states, they're attracting all the businesses. We can get more jobs here if we were a right to work state. And like I said, we couldn't pass it before, even with the supermajority, but we'll exempt the policemen and the firemen. So, what do you think?
Well, I think that we should do that. I think that the right to work is a good thing for the state of New Hampshire, and we'll see what we can do about it. What do you feel about, let me see, what else? We talked quite a bit about all sorts of...
Let me barge in on that
Go ahead.
for just a minute, because
ahead.
one of the things that, I talked earlier about growing up here and,
Yeah.
and so forth.
Yeah.
And if you look back historically, yes, we had some agriculture in the state of New Hampshire, always have had, but we're a big manufacturing state. You look at the mills in Rochester and Manchester and Nashua and all around the state. We were a big manufacturing state. And then, or at least for the size of the state, mills up in Berlin. And then, as technology became more important, we had Sanders Associates, thousands and thousands of employees for manufacturing, digital equipment. The list goes on, you know them all.
Yeah,
Cabletron was a big manufacturer.
yes.
We've had
Digital.
we've had a lot of manufacturing in here, and we're kind of losing that. And some of that is a federal issue.
Yeah.
We're sending some of those jobs overseas because of federal tax problems. But nonetheless, I just think we should be getting back to that kind of stuff.
What do you feel that is what do you think the most important thing as state representative, it's kind of a kloopy kind of a question, What do you feel that state representative, what's his most important job when he goes up to the state? We go up to the session.
You go first.
I go first? I believe that we should, obviously that she's not ready to answer that question. But I'm going to answer before she does.
Touche.
She's always trying to get me, you know what I mean? Sometimes she does, sometimes she doesn't. I believe the most important thing for the state representative, one of his main jobs, is to help the state of New Hampshire economically. Second, I believe that we should help the small businessman. And secondly, I think we should help the town and the people of Merrimack, New Hampshire. All of them. I think that's the top priority. What can we do to help this state go forward and and succeed? And Janine, don't use my words. You're next.
I'll use economic prosperity.
Very good.
Number one. Did you want the whole list or just?
No,
we
just,
wanted to let Chris know?
I'll go into Chris.
Okay.
No, you bring up a good point, Tony, about what's important for us to do as state reps.
Yeah.
And you know, this is maybe a little bit of a small point, but on the other hand, it's important. And that is, you got to be there. If you read through some of the blogs, Steve Valencourt puts one out with all of the,
I read his blogs.
yeah.
Yeah.
attendance records for some of the people from
Yeah.
some of the reps from Manchester and around the state, and they're here or they're in the House, 10% of the time, and they miss 80% of the votes, whatever the numbers happen to be. There's some abysmal records there, and those people aren't doing their job.
Well.
And whatever expertise they might have or committee functions, they're not doing that. And I think that's just to be there and know that the people of Merrimack have a voice. Janine mentioned earlier that it's frustrating to be in the minority because your vote doesn't count. Well, or it's hard to make it count.
Yeah.
And that may be true. But I've always felt when you're on the Board of Selectmen, for let's say you and I were on the Board of Selectmen
Yep.
together, Tony, and you had a 3-2 vote, and it was discouraging if you were the 2. But I always felt that somebody out there in the audience knew that you or I or whoever those two votes were was standing up for their point of view. When you have votes that are 5-0 or 400-0 or whatever the number is, you're not being represented. And so I'm a firm believer that even if you aren't on the winning side all the
Yeah.
time, it's very important to be there and let people know that somebody's sticking up for them.
And I believe in that one 100%,
And-
because I always have that feeling that somebody will say to me, "Gee, Tony, I don't know why you're going up there. You're going to get killed." I know that, but that's
Go anyway.
the people voted for me to represent them up there, even if I'm not going to win. But at least I have that one vote to say, "Hey guys, I don't believe in this, and I don't think my constituents believe in this, so I'm going to vote no." Or yes, they believe in this, and I'm going to vote yes. Take it away.
Oh, I just for the record, I got an A for attendance, and I did fight. I didn't just sit there. They heard me all the time, whether they wanted to or not. I didn't let them just hand things to them. And I know that could upset some people because they'd rather everyone just go vote and get on with it and just go on and get on to the next bill. But I'm like, no, they're raising our taxes. They're doing this. They're doing that. They're ignoring the First Amendment. They're not going to I'm not going to hand it to them. So I fought a lot of bills, and you're probably sick of hearing me too. But getting back
Let me
to
think
the
about
to
that
the
for a minute.
wait a minute, getting back to the being there. One of our colleagues got a bad grade. It was written up in the paper for his attendance, but I wanted to say a word on his behalf. I'm not going to say who it is, but he was there for a committee. He had to work. He had to leave early, so that was the reason they gave him a bad grade. He was there for most of the days. But he had to leave early. But at the county level, boy, he really fought hard at the county level. So sometimes you might have a good rep who can't be there 100% of the time, but being there for part of the time and voting well to represent Merrimack or wherever they're from is better than having someone from the other side voting against everything, voting against freedom. So.
Oh, good. Now I'm gonna let the ladies enjoy. Boy, I'm tongue-tied tonight,
no, me
and
too.
I don't know why. She gets me very, very nervous. A little bit of background from both candidates. We'll start off with Janine. Janine, give me a little bit about your background. I know you're up at the state, but I think people like to hear what your
I'm
background.
Italian. Can you tell?
Yeah.
You know, in the winter, I don't talk very much because it's too cold to take my hand in my pockets. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
Well, I'm married, let's see, September to be 29 years.
Congratulations.
We were 5 at the time, yeah. That was a lie, by the way. I'm almost half a century. It's getting close.
Yeah.
I have 6 kids. 2 of my sons are in the military. Been overseas many times. My nephew Matthew, Robin Williams. I just posted a picture today of my nephew Matt with Robin Williams. He went over to see the troops, so thank you for that. I have 2 sons in the Civil Air Patrol, and I have 4 grown kids, 2 teenagers at home.
Oh, you sound like a busy woman. So she's a busy woman.
I am never
at home.
bored, never ever bored.
And she runs. She's a marathon runner.
I try.
I was running. In fact, I trained her myself. I was running alongside. No, I'm only kidding.
I'm
Anyways,
working on my 10th marathon.
10 marathon.
Wow, good
Chris,
for you.
your background.
I haven't done any marathons yet.
Stick with me, guys. I'll take you.
There you go.
Take it with me.
Well, I think, we mentioned some of this at the beginning of the show that I'm Chris Christensen. I'm running for state representative. And I've been here for since 1975. Been a selectman, been on the planning board. I'm currently a trustee of trust funds. I'm truly dedicated to community service. I've been doing not much else, one way or another, for the last many years. And it's kind of a family tradition. My son has been an assistant moderator and worked on some town projects even while he was in school. As most of you out there know, my wife Lynn, who is town moderator, also on the planning board. We just do this kind of stuff, and we enjoy it, and we are proud to be serving the people of Merrimack.
Good, Chris. And you want to know what I do? I do a lot, I think. No, I'm only kidding. I was a selectman for about 2 or 3 terms. I'm a water commissioner. I'm on the ZBA. I'm on the ethics committee. And you say, when you have all time to do all this? I do. And why I do it? Because I love it. I love this town. I love these people. I love this state. We got about 44 seconds, so it's going to be quick. We'll start off with Chris.
Well, Janine.
Janine.
I didn't give my political background. You just
Oh,
said the background.
what's your
or
political
my
background?
Okay, well, I'm
Close enough.
seeking my 3rd term as a state representative. Prior to that, I was president of the National Area Federated Republican Women. I was vice president before that, and I've been chatting on Channel 22 since 2006 with 2 other shows in Nashua and Londonderry.
Chris, your last words for
The
people?
website is christensennh.com, and you can email me at chris@christensennh.com. Pretty tricky, huh? I'm always willing to hear from people, and I want to encourage you all to vote on September 9th at JMU's school.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, time is almost up. In fact, it is up. And I want to thank you for listening to me. And don't forget to go vote on September 9th. Hopefully you vote for myself, you vote for Chris, you vote for Janine. Ha! She thought I was going to forget her name. So with that, I'll say
I love Tony.
God bless and good night.